Okay, in this video we're going to talk about dihybrid crosses, and you will need a new page in your notebook, and you're going to need 1, 2, 3 of these templates and the 3 dihybrid cross problem. And let me show you what you're going to do with them. So what I did was I took out the problems and I cut them out, and you can see here's the template that's going to go in your notebook, and I stuck the problem at the bottom. So there was the one about sunflowers that we're going to do first. Then we've got the guinea pig one, which we're going to do second. And then we've got this one here, which I know it's sticking off the end of the page, but by the time you stick that in your notebook, it will be fine. So let's start by introducing this concept of dihybrid crosses, because what we've done so far in with our genetic crosses is we've talked about monohybrid crosses. So we've been doing these things here. We're only talking about one characteristic, in this case eye color, and we're only talking about like 2 different alleles. Okay, but we know we have more than one characteristic that we inherit. We inherit thousands of characteristics, so we need to look at kind of how they get inherited. The rules are still the same. Homozygous dominant, big letter, homozygous recessive, little letter, little letter. Remember, to have a homozygous recessive characteristic, you have to inherit it from both parents. But to have the dominant characteristic, you either inherit it from both parents, homozygous dominant, or you can be heterozygous, which means you've inherited different alleles from each parent, big letter, little letter. Those rules are the same. So I'm going to take the example of sunflowers, and I'm going to start off by, well, let's kind of talk about them. So in sunflowers, right, you can have, we always think of sunflowers as being tall, okay? But there are some sunflowers which are short, okay? So in sunflowers, you can have big T is tall, which means that the allele for tall sunflowers is dominant, and little t is going to be short, okay? Now, the other thing that a characteristic about sunflowers is sometimes, well, most of the time, when we think of sunflowers, we think of them as having yellow flowers, don't we? Right? So the flowers on the sunflower, right? Big Y is yellow flowers. Our yellow flowers are dominant to orange flowers, which we're going to have as little y is going to be orange. Now, here's another thing. When you look at it, so I could have a tall sunflower, which is yellow, but sometimes you may get tall sunflowers and they've inherited orange flowers. Okay? I could also have a short sunflower with yellow flowers, or I could have a short sunflower with orange flowers. So just because this one would be, it's got 2 dominant characteristics, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way you could have. I could have a tall one with orange flowers, and I could have a short one with yellow flowers. So, excuse me, there's lots of different options. And what we're going to do is what we call a dihybrid cross, because we're talking about not 1, but 2 different characteristics. We're going to work a dihybrid cross to work out what we could possibly get, and how you inherit more than one characteristic. And so the other thing I want to talk about before we move on to actually using the template is this. So if I was big T, little t, I would be tall, correct? But if I was big T, let's say I was big T, little t, big Y, little y, I am heterozygous for both characteristics. I'm going to be tall and I'm going to be yellow, but I'm still going to carry those recessive alleles. It's just you're not going to see them. If I was big T, big Y, I would be homozygous dominant for both characteristics. Both of these would look exactly the same. They both look tall, they both look yellow, right? This is heterozygous for both characteristics. This is homozygous dominant for both characteristics. If it was little t, little y, what would that look like? It would look like a short orange flower. So I could be short and orange. I can be tall and yellow. I can be tall and yellow. I could be little t, big Y, big Y. That would give me short and yellow flowers. But so would that genotype. It'd still be short, but I'd have yellow flowers. So there are lots and lots and lots of options here. I think I'm looking at the ones that I think the only one I've missed is big T, big Y, little y, tall, yellow. So there's lots of different genotypes to get me tall and yellow and tall and short. Okay, we got to work out how to do it. So I'm going to take this and I want you to look at this problem because it says here some flowers can be yellow, so big Y equals yellow, and they can be orange, which is little y. So immediately I know that yellow is dominant, orange is recessive. They can be tall, big T, dominant, short, little t, recessive. What are the possible phenotypes produced in the F1, that means the first generation, of two sunflowers that are crossed, that are heterozygous for each characteristic? That is my key. If you are heterozygous for both characteristics, that means they're going to be big T, big Y, little y. Okay? That's the key bit there. Okay? And this one here, heterozygous. They're going to be tall, they're going to be yellow, but they're going to carry the recessive alleles. So now what we do is, this kind of is a bit like doing a monohybrid cross now. So we're going to go up here to the parent genotype, big T, big Y, little y. And it so happens that both of these parents are the same. Now, when we did monohybrid crosses, the next thing we did is, if it was just that, we split the big T and the little t. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. This is the rule, and this is the bit that I've always had problems with, but it's pretty straightforward. I need every possible combination of a T and a Y. Okay, one T, one Y. So I can have a big T and a little Y, a big T and a big Y. I'm going to write that here. But I could also have a big T and a little Y. Oops, I kind of messed this up. So hold on. No. All right, so big T and a little Y. Or I could have a little T and a big Y. Or I could have a little T and a little Y. And those are all my options. I'm going to come over here. I kind of messed it up, so ignore those bits there. So big T, big Y, those two could go together. Big T, little y could go together. Okay, one of each. Little t, big Y. That's another combo, one of each letter. Or little t, little y. Okay? So all I did was I separated every combination, because I've got two different characteristics. I'm going to have two letters this time. And then all I'm going to do is, this is going to be exactly the same. Big T, big Y. Big T, little y. Little t, big Y, little t, little y. They go down the side just like before. And these ones over here, big T, big Y, big T, little y, little t, big Y, little t, little y. They go over there. And then just like every other one, you put them together. So the rules are this. When we put these together, we keep our letters together and we put them in alphabetical order. So big T, big Y, big Y. I'm going to write that over here. Big T, big Y, big Y. What will that look like? It's going to be tall and it's going to be yellow. Let's look at box number 2. It's going to be big T and a big T, a big Y, and a little y. So I'm going to put that over here. Big T, big Y, little y. Big T is tall, big Y, that's good. So it's also going to be tall and yellow. Okay? Let's do box number, let's pick another random box. Let's do box number 12. Okay, so it's going to be little t, big Y, little y. So I'm going to come down here to box 12. Little t, big Y, little y. Now, what's that going to look like? We know that little t is going to be short, and big Y, little y is going to be yellow again. So it's going to be short and yellow. Okay. Let's go with box 8. Big T, little y, little y. Okay. Number 8. Big T, little y, little y. Well, big T, little t is going to be tall. Big Y, little y, little y is going to be, that's going to be an orange flower. Okay. Now, if you go through all of these and you get every single one, what you're going to end up with is this. Hold on. I haven't quite finished them all here either. Okay, but I want you to fill them all in. Okay, and once you have filled them all in, if you've done this correctly, which I have every confidence you will, you should get something that looks a bit like this. In this case, I didn't do yellow and orange, I did red and white. The only difference is instead of Y's, I've got R's because red is dominant to white. And I filled every single one of them in. Then I counted up all my tall and red, or so it'll be tall and yellow in the sunflower. And I counted up, and I had 9 of them. And then I counted up the tall and the white, which would be tall and orange. And I had 3 of them. And then I counted up the short and the red, which would be short and yellow. And I had 3 of them. And then I counted short and white, or short and orange, and I had 1. And I get this ratio, 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. Exactly the same principle as here. 9 to 3 to 3 to 1 is what you get when both parents are heterozygous, big letter, big letter, little letter, for each characteristic. Okay? Now, if you get this, we're good. If you're not sure, we're going to go back and we can do some more of these. The next one I want you to stick in your notebook is the one about the guinea pigs. And the key here is that we know that one of them is homozygous black and straight, which would be big B, big B, big S, and we know the other one is brown and wavy. And since brown is recessive and wavy is recessive, they have to be this. So when you do that and you work out all the options, you will find that you do not have to fill in every single box on the Punnett square. And then finally, this one, this looks a lot more complicated. You just need to read through and make sure you understand, you work it out. And just so as you know, if that's a person's earlobes, it can be like this. If you look at someone's earlobes, they either go up, in which case they are unattached, or they just go straight in, which means they are attached. So this would be attached, and this would be unattached. Okay? So if your earlobes go in and go up before they go to the side of your face, then you've got unattached earlobes, which is dominant characteristic over attached.